Well, I want to welcome you to the first video of the class, section 1.1. It's about statistical terminology and methodology. So how do you describe statistics? What is statistics? What's the process of statistics? And we'll figure this out throughout the course of the semester. So we're just going to jump in, basically feet first, or maybe head first is a better idea. First thing is, well, what is statistics all about? There's different definitions, but the one we're going to use here is using information collected from a group of individuals called the sample to draw conclusions about a large group called the population. This is also known as statistical inference. Okay, I'm looking at the purple, seeing how it's coming out on the screen. I guess it's okay. And then statistic by itself, a statistic, say a statistic, is a number computed from the sample. And a parameter, I should put a squiggle here, a parameter is a number computed from the population. So what you might have as a statistic would be like the mean, the average of the values in the sample that you chose. So maybe you're studying, pick a thing, bags of apples at King Soopers, and you're weighing those bags because that's what you care about. Of course, what you would do depends on what you care about. You might be counting the number of bad apples in a bag. You might be weighing the apples. All those things that you might do that produce a number would be called a statistic, a procedure producing a number, and the numbers themselves are statistics. A parameter is a similar number computed from the whole population. Now, you may not actually be able to compute it. You may just be making an assumption. For example, the bag that you're looking at with apples in it says 10 pounds on it. And so that's a parameter. We're imagining these bags overall weigh around 10 pounds. And when we weigh a single bag and get a number, that's the statistic. And then there's special kinds of statistics, like the one we were just speaking of, descriptive statistics. So there's all kinds of numbers you might compute from the sample. Some of those numbers describe the main features of the values that you've collected, and those are called descriptive statistics. So we'll be looking at descriptive statistics in this class as a way of providing a numerical summary of the values instead of looking at the values themselves, things that describe those values and what pattern those values have. Ordinarily, we describe things like the center, we don't know what that is right now, but the center value, something about the shape and the spread can be described using numbers, either one number or several numbers. In some cases, for shape, you might have several numbers to try to describe where the values are and how spread out they are. We have things like mean and median. We have a 5-number summary here. We have standard deviation or interquartile range as a measure of spread. These are things we're going to learn about later on. Don't worry about it if you've never heard of them before. We'll introduce them in good time. But here, we're just giving you an idea of where we're going. All right, and so we talked about sample and population, parameter and statistics. Parameter and statistic, sample and population. Sample is a small group. The large group you want to know about is the population. A statistic is a number computed from a sample. A parameter is a number computed from the whole population you care about. Okay. So we're going to worry about the sample and population here, where if we do this statistical procedure, we're going to use this class to estimate the cost of attendance at CSu-Pueblo. So we're going to ask you all how much it cost you to go to school this semester, and maybe multiply that by some number to figure out how much it costs to go to school for the whole career path. And we'll use the students in this class to do it. So we're worried about what is the sample? Well, that'll be this class. And how about the population? I guess we're thinking CSu-Pueblo students, like that. Okay. So the group we care about is all CSu-Pueblo students. The ones we can get our hands on are just the ones in this class. So that's the sample, there's the population. And then, how about parameter and statistics? Here's an average tuition and fees of students in our class, the average tuition and fees of students in our class. That's computed from a sample, so that's a statistic. And then average tuition fees of all students at CSu-Pueblo That'll be the parameter because it's computed from the population of students that we care about. We're caring about students at CSu-Pueblo. Now, if you care about students in general going to college, how much does it cost to go to college? And we use CSu-Pueblo students as a way of estimating that, then the CSu-Pueblo students would be the average tuition and fees of all students at CSu-Pueblo would still be a statistic, and the parameter would be average tuition and fees of students across all schools. So the context does indicate what you call things. You as a researcher get to decide what the population is. What do you care about? And then you get to decide, or maybe you can't decide, but someone gives you information from a sample that's not the whole population, and you use that. Hopefully that sample is collected in a way that makes sense, so that it's representative of the whole population based on the kind of thing you're trying to study. So guess what? That's the first slide. This is how this goes. There'll be a slide like this. Try to put as much information on each slide as possible so that I'm not spending a lot of time writing right in front of you. We can just spend some time reading and thinking and talking about things and annotating the screen. And then I go away because I turn this off. Clean up the mess here on my learning glass and create a new slide. And that'll be on the next set of notes that you're looking at. And then we'll just proceed that way until we finish all of section 1.1. Ordinarily, there's about 5 slides per section. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. And sometimes it's hard to fit the information that you want on the screen, and sometimes I have to go back to my document camera. If I'm looking at tables or something, it's pretty hard to copy them up on Learning Glass here. But Learning Glass is pretty good because we have good sound, and it's pretty much like a classroom lecture, except I'm on the other side of the writing so that I never block anything from your view. Now, I am actually writing frontwards here. Even though it looks like it's backwards, the camera's on the other side of the glass. It's reading the screen. To the camera, everything's backwards, and then the computer takes that image and makes a movie of it, flips it and makes a movie of it, and that movie is what you're watching now. All right, we're done with our first slide, and I'll see you in a minute.